Hello, my friends. It's Nick. It's the ASMR nerd. And today I'm going to be building another mechanical keyboard. It's been, I don't know, a month and a half or something since we did a mechanical keyboard build video, and you know how it is. We can't go that long without a new keyboard around these parts. So today I'm pleased to say that Banggood.com is sponsoring this video and has sent over some fun parts for us to check out and build with today. I'm going to be building a board using the base of the Feker IK75 V3. Yes, Feker. We've seen some products from them before. I've actually been pretty consistently impressed with what they offer for the price. And so today I am tapping Feker for both the board, the kit, and the switches. These switches over here are their Smokey white tactile switches, which look kind of like Everglide Oreos, but I'm not quite sure how they're going to feel, so we'll find out. But yeah, they're supposed to be sort of a medium to strong tactile switch. The Feker IK75 is this lovely looking 75% keyboard in the style and layout of the GMMK Pro, except it's significantly cheaper. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out, how it feels and sounds. And speaking of cheaper, if you are interested in these products that we look at in the build here today, there are of course links all down below. You can find them down in the video description and pinned in the top comment there. If you purchase through those links, you will be supporting the channel, which of course I always appreciate very, very much. And you will also find a discount code for the keyboard, which saves you, I think, 10 to 15%. I can't remember exactly, but in that neighborhood. As well, Banggood has a spring sale going on at the time of publication, and it lasts for, I think, a week after this video comes out or so. And a lot of these things are on sale over the course of that sale, including, I've seen the switches on sale, the board on sale, and the keycaps. I've got the keycaps over here. I'm not showing them to you right now because it's not an exciting box. It's just a brown, cardboard box, but you'll see the caps themselves later in the video. They are a lovely set of keycaps as well. So, yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to be unboxing each product in turn. The keyboard, the switches, the keycaps, and then we're going to put it all together and see how it looks and hear how it sounds. And then I'll give you some of my sort of informal, subjective opinions on the stuff. This isn't a formal review. I always like to make that very clear. This is a sponsored video. But nonetheless, I'll let you know what I think about the stuff, and you guys will of course get to judge for yourself when you see it and hear it. Hopefully you enjoy all the fun ASMR-ish sounds along the way. So without further ado, let's check these parts out. So the core of our build today is the Feker IK75 V3. This is a 75% keyboard with a layout that's identical to the GMMK Pro from Glorious, and it makes it quite apparent what they're targeting with this product. However, the Feker IK75 comes in at less than half the price of the GMMK Pro. So that makes it awfully compelling, and it comes with wireless built in as well in both 2.4 gigahertz and Bluetooth flavors. So it's got some pretty compelling features in a very compelling price. Now, what it doesn't feature is aluminum construction. It's a plastic board as opposed to the big solid chunk of aluminum that the GMMK Pro is, but it does have some cool kind of build stuff going on. The plastic that it's made out of, as you'll see, is kind of milky, semi-translucent, which diffuses the RGB lighting very nicely. Moreover, it comes with the premium features that you would hope to see in, boards these days that are designed for a nice typing experience, such as case dampening foam, I believe dampening silicone between the plate and the PCB, and a gasket mounting setup to provide a nice dampened experience when typing that really, hopefully, results in a premium sounding board. We will see. It says here, 2.4 gigahertz is suitable for drive. I don't know what that means. 2.4G refers to the wireless connectivity. I don't know what suitable for drive means. Your guess is as good as mine. Of course, as a 75% keyboard, we have our entire F row up here, which is great. We are lacking most of our nav cluster, but we do get some of it in a single column over here on the right. We have our dedicated arrow keys. They're separated away from the main body of the alphanumerics. We are lacking our numpad over here. And we have a rotary encoder, which is a pretentious name for a knob. We have a knob, a dial. So the box is quite minimalistic. Not much to see there. We do have some certifications on the back here and a little bit of product info. USB Type-C, RGB lighting, hot swappable, of course. An 8,000 milliamp hour battery. That is huge. That's like at least double anything I've seen in a keyboard before. That should last for a very long time. And I believe it's actually got 2 batteries inside. That's how they achieved that. And a 75% layout, of course. Okay, so let's open it up. Now, I must confess, I actually opened this up once before, and so if things look a little bit disheveled or out of place, that's because I unboxed this already. And like a dummy, I forgot to hit the record button on my audio interface there. So this has all been done once before. Nonetheless, we'll take a nice close look at everything in here. And I did try and put it back just how I found it. So inside we are greeted with a quick start guide, which is indeed a very quick start. We've got function combo keys. We've got battery info, 2.4 gigahertz and Bluetooth pairing connections, instructions there, backlight controls, compatibility info, and a bunch of specifications. It says anti-ghosting, which means it's got N key rollover. You can press down as many keys as you want without running afoul of anything, having them stop recording or registering. And yeah, all that good stuff. So simple, straightforward, little quick start guide. The keyboard itself is presented in a fairly premium kind of way. We have this nice sounding dust cover which sits on top. Underneath that, we have on either side some nice squishy padding foam, which makes it feel very secure in here. We have the Feker branding right here. And we have what actually surprised me the most, a replacement plate for this board. So this is a polycarbonate plate, which you can replace the stock steel, probably steel plate with, if you want a more soft and flexible typing experience. It softens the bottom out, and that's a really cool feature, as including an extra plate. You would pay money for this normally, for the GMMK. If you want a polycarbonate plate, it's another 20 bucks, I think. So it's really cool to see Feker include this as a pack-in with their board here. Another set of screws and mounts as well. Amazing. So yeah, there's that translucent polycarbonate plate. Would probably also help with diffusing the RGB lighting if you want to go for that look as well. And you may very well want to, because as you'll see in a moment, the RGB lighting on this thing is definitely one of the standout features. So we lift out the board. It's got a nice heft to it. Again, it's, you know, plastic, but it feels weighty and solid. Just put that there for the moment. Take a quick look at the other pack-ins here. We've got this nicely braided USB cable in this sort of gray-black woven fabric. It's a little stiff, but it feels high quality. The ends are actually aluminum. This one says Type-C because it's reversible Type-C connector. USB Type-A on the other end. Comes with a little cable wrap which says all clap on it. I don't know why. It's very odd branding, but nonetheless, a little hook and loop fastener, never a miss. Feels like a nice, high quality, premium kind of cable. We also have a keycap and switch puller, because this is of course a hot swap board. It is the better style of keycap puller, the wire style. It's not going to muck up your keycaps, unlike the inferior loop style ones. Got some little dimples on the puller here, I guess for grip when you're pulling out the switches. It's not branded, but it does the trick. It's really all you need. And then we have a very interesting collection of switches here, which I will show you very quickly. The first time I unboxed this, I actually spent quite a bit longer talking about the characteristics of these switches, but I'll just go through them quickly. Now, these switches are all Feker branded switches. And one of them, at least, might look familiar to you. This is the Feker Panda, also known as the Feker Pink Jade. It's a tactile switch designed to approximate a Holy Panda type experience, which is a very famous tactile switch. And for the most part, it does a pretty good job of it, actually. I used these switches in a previous build, a couple of builds ago. And if you're curious about that one, I'll put that link up there so you can click through. But that was a fun little Gamma K hot swap board, and I was actually really impressed with these Feker switches. For the price, they were quite good. Another switch you're going to see a lot more of is this one here. This is another tactile type switch. Got a bit of spring ping to it there, but this is actually the switch that we're going to be using on this board. I have a whole set of these. It's got a nice round tactility to it, and this kind of smoky looking case, which is kind of interesting. We'll see how those perform as well. I hope I'm equally impressed with those as I was with the Feker Pandas. And then we've got kind of a grab bag of other interesting looking Feker switches here, including this sort of pale robin's egg blue one, which is also tactile and actually really pleasingly smooth. I don't know what this switch is called. Never seen it before, but maybe it's more of an aqua color. I'm not quite sure. Colorblind, you know. But it's got a pleasing tactility. Smooth action, nice sound. Honestly, not bad at all. And then a couple of linears. This one with a Smokey looking housing again, and what appears to be the stem of the Feker Panda, but it's not, because it's a linear switch. A little bit of spring squeak going on there, but reasonable feeling action. And then this kind of odd one out, which is a linear switch as well, but it's got this sort of box-like surround that you see on a lot of MOTU switches. A little different from the Kale box switches, but this one, really nice smooth action, very good stability, a little bit clattery, but not bad. Anyway, so 5 kind of weird, interesting switches that you probably wouldn't normally encounter, but all from Feker. And like I said, these tactile ones with the white stems and the Smokey housings are what we're going to be using here today. This one doesn't sound that great. It's got kind of a spring squeak to it, but hopefully they don't all sound like that. Yeah, I had a pleasant, medium, strong, tactile kind of response. Anyway, we will see how they feel and sound when we get a whole board full of them here. They're reasonably inexpensive, those ones. So, all right, and that's everything. That's the whole thing. So let's put that aside for now and bring out the actual board, since that's what we're really here for, isn't it? So the board itself, the Feker IK75, that compact 75% layout, well, it's actually an exploded 75% layout, identical to that of the GMMK Pro. We've got, of course, the dial, the knob, the rotary encoder up here. It's metal, which is nice. It's got this knurled texture around the outside, and it clicks. A very solid click, although I will say that click does betray the plastic construction of this board a little bit, because does have a certain hollowness to it, a certain resonance that you don't get on the GMMK Pro, which is, of course, solid aluminum. Nonetheless, I'm sure it will get the job done. It's got little indentations as you turn it, or detents, I guess, detents, they call them. Anyway, you can hear, if you listen carefully here. And that action feels weighty and satisfying. It feels quality. So that's nice. It's pretty stable. Not too much wiggle. For its part, the case is made of this milky plastic. I'm not actually sure what kind of plastic it is. Maybe it's a POM or like a nylon. I don't know, honestly, but it's kind of a semi-translucent, kind of soft, sort of milky plastic, which allows for quite a lot of light to diffuse through the case, which looks really nice, as you'll see in a moment. The plate, the stock one, is, I think, steel, maybe aluminum, but I think steel. But it's nice and in white, of course, as is the PCB. Underneath, you can see between the top plate and the PCB, we've got a layer of black silicone dampening material, which should contribute significantly to a nice dampened kind of typing feel, without a lot of rattle or sort of echo from the case. The stabilizers are just sort of Cherry MX clone plate mount style. They do appear to be lubed. If you look in there, you can see some lube on the bars. I'm curious how they perform stock. I suspect that I will ultimately end up taking them out and lubing them up myself, because like that one sounds pretty rattly. I find factory lube jobs are almost never any good, but we'll of course try it out stock and see. But the good news is, because they are plate mounted, they are very easy to remove should you want to, I suspect, just by pressing in this little like so. Just pop up like that. But I do believe this whole board is actually designed to be disassembled, because again, the whole thing comes apart so that you can replace the plate should you want to do that. So that's really nice. The hot swap sockets, of course, are 5-pin ready, so you don't have to worry about clipping the pins off your switches if you got 5-pin switches or anything. Got a little surface mounted LED in every socket there. And we have our indicator lights over here. That's one aesthetic difference from the GMMK Pro. The GMMK Pro does not have indicator lights, but we have mode indicators as well as lock indicators there. The case itself feels pretty solid. It's got a little bit of a slope to it by default, and it's sort of undercut towards the back, but it's a fairly gentle angle, just a few degrees. When we come around the back, we will see that we have, of course, rubberized feet, so that doesn't slip around on your desk, and your choice of 2 different flip-out feet sizes. If you want more of a typing angle, these biggest ones would be a pretty severe angle, but they're there if you want them. We also get a good look around the back here at the translucent nature of this case plastic. It's hard to tell from the front, but it is all this sort of semi-translucent material, and you can actually see underneath these 2 big rectangles are the batteries. Remember, I mentioned this thing has 8,000 milliamp hours of battery capacity spread across 2 batteries. That is unprecedented and really cool to see, actually. Notably, there's actually no sticker on the back, no branding, no logos or anything, so that's odd, uncommon, honestly, but I kind of like it. It's a very clean aesthetic here. We've got a couple of things of note over here. We have, first of all, a spot for our 2.4 gigahertz USB receiver, which I am so happy to see, because these little receivers are paired at the factory to the keyboard with which they ship, and if you lose it or get it confused with another one that might look identical because it's not branded, it's just generic, then you're out of luck, because it only pairs with this one. So that's really great to see that they've included a little spot for storage right there. And then, of course, we have our mode switch here. Our mode switch, it starts off in type C mode. I don't know if you can tell, but there's very faintly some printing on there. It's a little hard to see, but it starts off in type C. Then we have Bluetooth, which, would you look at that, the lights come on. You can see what I mean about the translucent case. It becomes very apparent here now. If you are seeing some strobing or flickering, which I reckon you are, that is not real. I can't see it with my eyes. It's just an artifact of the shutter speed of the camera and the frequency of the LEDs, but you don't see it IRL. Also, these these edge LEDs here probably look a little pale to you. They're actually quite vivid and saturated in person. They're probably just very blown out to you right now, but we'll take a closer look at the backlighting later under proper lighting conditions. But you can see it's got full edge lighting all the way around the top, the sides, the bottom. Really quite impressive. And then the 2.4 gigahertz mode, similar. So turn that off for the moment. Well, actually, let's keep it on. I'll just show you. It also, look at that, very lit up from the front. You might not be able to tell so much, but man, those are some bright and colorful LEDs. Oh, there it stopped because it's not receiving any input, so it's probably set to turn off after a certain amount of time. Not receiving input, but I think that's going to look really awesome once we get it in a dimly lit environment and have the camera set to expose properly. And then of course we have a cutout for our USB Type-C slot port right there. And that's pretty much it. Lots to look at, lots to consider here. But overall, my first impression is great. Honestly, this feels good. It feels like it's got a nice weight to it. It feels like it's going to be a nicely dampened typing experience. And it's certainly hard to argue with those features that it offers. It's got a lot going on. And even the knob feels good, you know. That slightly echoey sound on the press, notwithstanding. Last thing here, I guess, is the flex test. Now I have been noticing a bit of creakiness as I've been handling this, so I'm expecting this to be a little bit dire sounding, but let's see. So there's a bit of deck flex you can see there, because it is largely made of plastic, and there's a little bit of creakiness, but not egregious, you know, not out of the norm for a plastic keyboard. And again, the weight of it really does help confer a feeling of quality, which, you know, maybe isn't quite matched by the slightly creaky build that we've got going on here. But I'm hoping that once we get it all set up with switches and caps and all that, it's going to look and sound great. Speaking of switches and caps, let's take a look at those next. So we've already kind of taken a look at the switches because it's one of the ones that was packed in as a demo there. But I have a whole box of these little Fekers. I will never not giggle at the name. We've got a Feker board. We've got little Feker switches. They come in this just black box, which looks perhaps familiar to you if you saw that other video where I used the Feker switches. It's the same kind of packaging. Makes nice sounds. And they just come in a little plastic bag inside the box. We've got 90 of them here. You can buy them in 70s, 90s, or 110s. And I believe this board has 81 keys in total. So we need the 90 pack. 70 would not cut it. Once again, these are tactile switches. They have a nice round kind of bump right there. They're a little heavier than those Feker Pandas, I believe. They're slightly heavier. I think they're 64 gram force, actuation force on these switches. They claim to have polycarbonate uppers and nylon lowers, but the lowers feel more like polycarbonate to me. I could be wrong. They also claim to be factory lubed. If they are, it's pretty light because you can hear a little bit of scratchiness in there. Listen. It's not bad at all. It's less than something even like a Cherry MX Brown, which is actually pretty scratchy. But it is less than that, notably so. The Tactile event is right at the top. There's virtually no pre-travel. And it's pretty rounded. Pretty rounded. It's a little bit less pronounced, a little bit rounder than something like a Boba U4T. For its part, it's got a dual stage spring, which is pretty quiet, but clearly there's some inconsistency because that demo one that we looked at was definitely a little louder in the spring department. The bottom out sound is a little bit on the higher pitch side, not terribly thocky. And the top out sound it's a noticeable clack and a noticeable ping. Now, that might sound a little bit different once we get them on the board and once we get some caps onto them. Switch characteristics are only part of the story, of course, when it comes to the sound. But sort of smoky housing is going to dim the RGB LEDs somewhat, but it does, of course, have the window on the top there to allow some of that light to shine through. And it is semi-translucent. It's not totally opaque, so that will help diffuse the light a bit. And that's pretty much all there is to say. It's a 3-pin design, so it'll work on your hot swap sockets, even if they only accept 3-pin switches. You don't have to trim these or anything, which is great. And of course, if you wanted, you could open them up, you could loop them yourself, you could film them. I will be doing neither of those things for this video because I want to hear them stock. Let you guys hear them stock, but like any switch, those are options to enhance their performance. And finally, we've got the keycaps. So the keycaps come in this nondescript brown cardboard box. There's virtually no branding. There is no branding, just a SKU. Doesn't even tell us what type of caps they are, but I think they look pretty nice, and I hope you will agree. Let's take a look. Oops. So here are the caps. This set is called Stargazing, and it's got this lovely night sky blue, this kind of deep blue for most of the keys, and then this sort of pale, this is my color blindness getting the better of me again, but very pale yellow, almost peachy kind of color. But at least I think that's what it is. I'm going to call it a pale yellow. You guys can tell me I'm wrong. It's a really pretty looking set, I think. Comes with just a wire style keycap puller. Not that we need it because we've already got one with our board, but there it is nonetheless. These caps are cherry profile, so they are a little shorter than the OEM profile you might be familiar with, but other than that, they're the same. They've got the sculpted tops, they've got the stepped rows, all that stuff. They're made of PBT plastic, which is a nice shine-resistant plastic that has a very pleasing kind of high-pitched kind of sound to it, and a really nice feel under the fingers. It's nicely textured, and they won't shine up with finger oils over time, unlike ABS. They're a nice thick construction as well. Virtually no flex there. Honestly, like every set that you buy like this, even these most generic ones, like this appears to be, I'm always impressed with the keycap quality compared to what you get stock on most boards that you buy. The caps are always thicker, more robust, better made, pretty much. And this one is no exception. The legends and the colors are dye sublimated, so that means the dye is infused right into the plastic. It will never wear. So these colors, these legends will never wear off. It's literally infused into the PBT plastic. And they feel good. They look really nice. And they come with some fun novelties as well. Let me show you here. So this is, of course, the Stargazer set with the night sky aesthetic. And so we have here some fun astronomical type things. We've got a little planet Earth. We got a meteor. We've got some stars. We've got some little telescopes and some shooting stars up here. We've got another comet and a field of stars there for our novelties. Really nice looking. And it should have coverage for this board. Maybe not exactly the way we need it, because the profile might be a little bit wonky for some of those keys along the right side there, along the nav cluster there, but hopefully we can just replace those with some of the novelty keys. I'm sure we'll be able to make something work one way or another, but I believe it has around 140 keys in the set, so it should have pretty good coverage for most layouts. We shall find out here. So, of course, these all go together on the board, and I will demonstrate here very briefly, but I'm actually going to do something a little different. Normally I show you guys the whole process where I put on all the switches and all the caps, but it's honestly not the most relaxing because the sounds are a little crunchy and it takes quite a while. So I think instead this time I'll just do one here to demonstrate, not that it's complicated, but we will put this smoky white switch into the escape spot there, and then we will pop this escape keycap onto there, just like so. These are, of course, cherry style switches and cherry style caps as well, so that familiar cross stem there. Anything that takes those will be compatible. And there's our first switch. First switch and cap done. But I'm going to go do the rest of them on my own time, is what I'm trying to say. And then we will reconvene here. I will show you the completed board. We will marvel at the aesthetics. We'll check out some of the RGB functionality as well. And then we'll take it for a typing test. So back in a moment. And here is the Feker IK75, all built with the Feker Smokey white switches underneath the Stargazing keycaps, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. You can see I've got the lights on right now, so the keyboard is not illuminated. We will take a look at it in a moment with the backlight and the underlighting enabled as well. But right now, what you're seeing is that kind of milky white case exterior color here with the deep blue of the sort of night sky blue alphas and mods. Well, really all the keys except for the accent colors here on the Stargazing set, and then a few of these pale yellow accents. And then we've got that silver knob over here, which at first I wasn't sure if I liked because it doesn't match with the the pale yellow so well. But then I thought about it. It's kind of like a moon in the sky, isn't it? It's kind of got moon vibes sitting up there in the corner, all silvery like that. So honestly, I think it works out pretty well. Another set that I think would work really well on here, which I might try popping on later, is the neon set from Acco, the Acco neon set, which looks really, really cool. And works well when it's illuminated, I would think, as well. But for now, anyway, we've got this Stargazer set on here. I think it looks great. I think it sounds pretty good too. This is a very muted sounding keyboard, very dampened, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. But the stock stabilizers are actually surprisingly well tuned. Like, not perfect, but way better than most stock stabs on most boards that I've checked out and reviewed before. Even better than on most fully built keyboards, let alone on a kit like this. So anyway, we'll do a quick little sound test so you can hear it here. We've got bearing in mind, of course, these are cherry profile keycaps in PBT, so the caps themselves don't have a lot of resonance to them, which does lend to a bit of a flatter sound, I find, a little less thocky and resonant, especially also considering that the board is so dampened. So but the stabilized keys, let's give those a listen. That's not bad. And bearing in mind, this is totally stock. I have not tuned these stabs at all. No band-aid modding, no clipping, no lubing, nothing. Pretty good. The only one that's lacking really is the space bar, which is still not bad, but it's got a bit of rattle to it. Still though, respectable for the stock tuning. And actually, once this board has been all, fully loaded with switches and everything, the solidity of pressing down on the knob at the dial up here actually sounds better too. Listen. Much better, I would say. So, that's the situation there. Of course, it is both wired and wireless. Right now I actually have it off entirely. But I will switch it over to Bluetooth mode in a moment, and I'll dim the lights so that we can see the way the lighting goes, and sort of what effects we can control there. So let's do that. And here is the board with the lights off. Well, the board lights on, the room lights, the video lights off. And I've tried to set the shutter speed so there's no flicker, and I've tried to set the white balance to accurately reflect what the board looks like. It's pretty tough to do so, to get it just right. So, but this is on a white color essentially right now. Hopefully it looks white-ish to you. You can see the whole board illuminates like this. It's a little brighter around the rotary encoder in the upper right here, but we get this lovely translucency across the whole board, and some of that light spills out onto the desk surface and surrounding surfaces as well. I think it makes for a really nice look, which sort of works with the celestial theme of this particular set of keycaps, but would also look really nice for like a cyberpunk or like vaporwave type build with those Echo Neon keycaps that I mentioned earlier, or any number of other sets. Absolutely, I'm sure. Oh, so that feature right there is the auto off feature, of course, which happens occasionally when or after a few minutes when the keyboard hasn't received any input, when it's in its wireless mode. So I actually have it in the 2.4 gigahertz wireless mode right now, and yeah, it seems to be a couple of minutes and it turns the lights off, which is fine. It wakes up immediately upon pressing a key, and that key press, that first key press, is registered. So it's not like you have to press a key to wake it and then another one for your first key press. So I do appreciate that. In terms of the control for the backlighting in hardware here, we do have all kinds of options for controlling light effects. You have all the basic light effects that you expect to see out of keyboards these days, you know, the breathing and the waves and the flashing and the sparkling and all those sorts of things. That's pretty par for the course, even on the most budget of keyboards these days. You can cycle through color modes as well. There's some, you know, about 7 or 8 basic colors you can cycle through here of the backlight, as well as a rainbow mode. And you can adjust brightness and speed of those effects as well in hardware. All of that stuff also available in the software. I'm not going to show you the software here because, truth be told, there's not much to look at. It is very bare bones, but it does get the job done for what you need here. It controls per key backlighting. It controls rebinding of the keys. You can record macros and assign macros, and you can rebind the rotary knob up here as well. I'm not sure about rebinding the turning of the knob. That I'm not certain about, but certainly the push button control you can rebind. The only other thing is, of course, that this also has underlighting. Now, the underlighting, unfortunately, is not controllable in software. There goes the board again. And that seems to be a shortcoming of many keyboards with underlighting or side lighting that I have checked out over the years. I don't know why that's the case, but it is the case here. The good news, however, is that you can control and select from some sort of a handful of basic presets with the function right control combo here. You can also turn off all of the backlight with the function spacebar. So if you just want to turn it right off there, that is an option. But as far as the edge lighting goes, I'll just flip through some of the options here. So this is the underlighting is off now. So there's sort of a rainbow scroll you can see. There is a breathing, or I guess out of a just cycling through colors mode. This is a different kind of colored cycling thing. That's the breathing, multicolored breathing. Very vivid. And then we've got some solid color options. Including that kind of cool white that we were on before. So that's really all there is to show with the RGB backlighting. Like I said, it's basically got what you'd expect. And of course, this would look lovely with a set of shine-through keycaps as well, like you know, pudding caps or something. Always a good, inexpensive, aesthetically pleasing option if you want shine-through caps. I think they would look especially good with the sort of milky white case paired with the milky white bases of the pudding caps. But anyway, I think now it's time for a typing test. What say you? You got to hear a little bit of it a moment ago, but how about a good solid chunk of typing so you can really hear it in action, get a feel for the sound of these switches and these keycaps and the board itself. So let's get on with that. have it, my friends. The completed build and typing test with the Feker IK75, with the Feker Smokey white switches, and this generic Stargazing PBT cherry profile keycap set. I'm really happy with how this whole build turned out. I think it looks great. I think it sounds pretty darn good. I will say, I think that there's a bit of scratchiness in those switches. You can hear it in the typing test there, probably. Not egregious, but I do think they would probably benefit from some lubing if you were so inclined to do so. Still a great typing experience, even without the lubing, but I think that would really help them shine. But I do like the relatively heavy tactile feel, the roundness of the tactile bump on these switches. And honestly, I think the bottom out sound is pretty good. It's not a deep thok, but it's got a pleasing timbre to it. Overall, the board sounds, again, quite dampened. Some might say a little flat. Some people maybe want a little more resonance. But I do think that mostly comes down to the keycaps. I think if you went with some higher profile ABS caps, like some SA caps or something like that, you'd get a bit more of that resonance. But as it is, I think that these caps look and sound pretty darn good, and they feel nice under the fingers. Of course, the PBT is never going to shine or wear. You know, it's going to always feel nice and have that sort of matte texture to it and look nice and consistent throughout the life of these keycaps. So those are my just brief subjective opinions on these things. I will remind you, this is not a formal review per se. This is a sponsored video from Banggood. So but I do hope that you enjoyed the build and enjoyed looking at these products and hearing about them and seeing and hearing them in action nonetheless. You can, of course, pick these up on Banggood, and as a matter of fact, if you check out the links down in the video description, you will also find a coupon code for a discount on the IK75. I believe it's 15% or thereabouts. I should remember, but it's something like that, which will save you some money. And if you purchase any of these products through the links down there, you will also be supporting the channel, which of course I appreciate a lot. And I do encourage you to check them out there and use that coupon if you are interested in this IK75, because from what I've seen here, it seems like an excellent budget option that's going to be very flexible and looks great, sounds great, and integrates a lot of fairly premium kinds of features at a very reasonable price. There's a reason why it seems to be popular amongst budget keyboard enthusiasts right now. That much I can see. So once again, those links all down in the video description, and do not forget to take advantage of that coupon code if you do go and pick it up. Oh, also, if you check this out at the time of recording or shortly thereafter, Banggood also has a spring sale going on right now where all kinds of stuff is already discounted. Probably the keycaps, I'm willing to bet. Probably the switches as well. So now's a great time to save on all these things. And of course, big thank you to Banggood.com, of course, for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video and many others before this as well. Always appreciated. And thank you for watching. I do hope that you found this informative and interesting, and of course, I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you back here next time, my friends. Farewell for now.